Alhamdulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. We begin in the name of Allah. All praise and glory be to Allah, and His finest peace and blessings be upon His Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his family and his companions, and all those who tread his path. I hope you're all well, in good health and iman, and trying to make the best out of your school years. Who hates virtual as much as I do? Criterion. You. Okay. I'm not the only weirdo. I don't mind it too much. I hate it so much. We're outnumbering you, and you're doing virtual schooling, so it's not new for you. Okay, lucky you. Enjoy. I'm not trying to sound mean or anything. Yes, and they do virtual as well. Okay. We will be content with whatever Allah does not give us a choice about, and we'll try to do our best to make the best of whatever Allah gave us some working room in. Ameen. Ameen. Jazakallah khairan. And so we continue studying, inshallah, the signs of the end times. And there are some new faces today, but I will not backtrack much. We have started sending out the recordings. For those that have not received the private link to the recording, our administrator and communication officer, Brother Osman Shah, will be sending those out if he hasn't already. I know some of them received them upon request, but he'll send an email blast, inshallah, for everyone who is registered to get the links to those recordings and I guess refine their notes in preparation for the exam, yes, and also more importantly in preparation for the Day of Judgment. May Allah grant us and you life so long as life is good for us, and make us of those who are grateful for the opportunity Allah gave us in life. So I changed up the syllabus a tad bit in that I thought to simplify for some of us, the previous signs, minor signs, and the previous and ongoing verse, and then the major, that three-prong. I've removed it. I just split the minor signs into two now and made it the minor signs in general and the minor signs that definitely haven't happened yet. Because some signs have definitely happened. We spoke about some of them already. Some signs have not yet happened for sure. And there's some that are debatable. Did they happen or not? Are we understanding the hadith correctly or not? And if they happened, will they happen again? So the syllabus is in front of you, just to give you an overview of the progression and the sequence, the order that we're going to be following, inshallah. And as for the signs we've covered, we've said of the signs of the end times is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, him coming, being the last prophet, Allah sending him right before the hour. He himself being sent by Allah, being born into the world, is one of the signs of the end of time. And the second is the splitting of the moon, and we spoke a little bit at length about that last week. And Arabia, the Arabian Peninsula, becoming rivers and meadows, and we spoke a little bit about that last week as well. And then we spoke about the surplus of wealth. Meaning wealth becoming so abundant, people not know where to pay their zakah and otherwise. And then the prevalence of usury, which is riba, which is interest, and also the prosperity, the surplus of wealth, in addition to it causing people to get involved in usury, will get people to become more and more and more greedy, because this dunya is addictive, right? So people can obsess with it. The more they have of it, the more thirsty they become for it. And that's why our deen teaches us to self-regulate. Because if a little bit is not enough for you, a lot will not be enough either. It's like salt water. The more you drink, the thirstier you get. So you got to be very careful in how you interact with this world. You make sure it's in your hand, money, and never let it get into your heart. And also brutality. People are going to become vicious and become brutal because there's so much feistier competition, so much out there. And then there is literacy and bickering. That's what we ended with last week. And we tried to speak a little bit about how literacy... okay, someone's annotating again. I wish there was a way for us to figure out who was annotating. so we can deliver ruthless punishments to them. And then, don't worry, we'll catch you. We'll figure out where you are, and then I'll give each of the students in this class a chance to get back at you. Please, respectfully asking, please stop annotating on the screen. Jazakallah khairan. And the last thing we spoke about is literacy and bickering. People are going to become very literate. The Prophet ﷺ said the pen will become widespread, meaning so many people are going to learn how to read and write, get educated, and actually just start talking without having sufficient knowledge to talk and to write and to author things. And then they will be after each other. They will not be speaking to each other. They'll be speaking at each other. There'll be lots of discord, lots of fighting, lots of breaking of families, lots of weakening of relationships. And for sure, we see a lot of this now, right? The more people talk, the more socialization happens in an imbalanced way. The more fighting happens all the time, right? Debates and argumentation, arguing and all this hostility that comes with talking too much, whether it's like this or like this, right? So now we want to move on to something I tried to open up last week, but I didn't have enough time to really spend enough time on it, which is related to literacy and bickering. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu said that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, when the trust is lost, then await the hour. And so Abu Hurairah himself said, I asked him, how is the trust lost, O Messenger of Allah? And so the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, إِذَا أُسْنِدَ الْأَمْرُ إِلَى غَيْرِ أَهْلِهِ فَانْتَظِرِ السَّاعَةِ. When authority is rendered to those who are inadequate for it, then await the hour. What does that mean? Because that's like, the wording is a little bit heavy. What do you guys think that means? When authority is rendered to those who are inadequate for it. I mean, this is like one of the better translations, but it's still kind of dense. Anyone want to explain it? Anybody at all? When the leaders of governments are corrupt. So that is definitely one of the subsets of this. It definitely fits under this. So when we say authority, we automatically think power and government, right? But authority is more than that. Have you ever heard the term knowledge is power? Right? When someone has knowledge, they are seen as powerful, right? And so, yeah, when people abuse power, yeah, in the physical sense, in the government sense, yes. But knowledge is power because when someone has something, people ordinarily respect that and they honor that and they bow down to that. They accept to listen to him. So he becomes an authority in their life, basically. Okay? And so the problem at the end of time is that authority will be given to people that tricked others into thinking they have the qualifications when they don't, right? Or people not caring about qualifications just gave them authority for selfish reasons. They've accepted them as leaders, not just leaders in the government sense, but it could be like thought leaders, people who determine ideas, trends, values and otherwise. So basically, people are going to become camps that it'll be a free-for-all. People just arbitrarily may just make up, we want, to support this idea, to support this person who speaks about this idea, to support, and they don't care whether that person is qualified or not, whether they're saying the truth or not. It doesn't matter to them. And this is a huge problem, that we are commanded in the Quran. Yeah, people will choose the worst leaders for selfish reasons. Could this be like celebrities promoting certain politicians? Yeah, and it could be celebrities promoting themselves and not even politicians. That's one thing that I always remind people about. Like there are more, what's the word? There's more influence in celebrities than there is in politicians sometimes, right? It's like not even the celebrities promoting the politician. Politicians look to celebrities because celebrities have greater influence in them sometimes. Like think about, these horrific, ugly, music products, music videos, music albums, and otherwise. Or think of just these entertainers and their social media accounts. These are stronger than so many politicians. They have more of an ear. More people listen to them than they listen to politicians. Like more people are aware of person X's album when they're coming out than they are aware of when election day is. If you're really focusing on elections because it's next month, you may think everybody watched the Trump Biden debate, whatever day that was, like Tuesday night or something. Alhamdulillah, I brag to people that I didn't know that it happened until the next morning, because I'm trying to check out of that conversation. I'm not interested. And so, but are those people qualified to tell us what to do, to tell us how to live life, to tell us where happiness is found? No, this is an authority that we gave them. We act like they can. But these people, if you dig into their life, they are the least qualified for it. These people are like a scratch away from a meltdown so many times. And we keep seeing this time and time again, this athlete and this actress and this musician and, this influencer. These people are not authorities, right? They're inadequate to authorize, to lead us, to direct us in any way. But we gave it to them. We just said, okay, you tell us what to do. And that's really, really shallow and really sad. And the trust like that is lost. And so this is an important ayah that we have to remember regarding the trust being lost. We are entrusted with respecting expertise. Allah Azza wa Jal said in the Quran, Inna Allah ya'murukum an tu'addu al-amanati ila ahliha. Allah commands you to render the trusts to whom they are due. وَإِذَا حَكَمْتُم بَيْنَ النَّاسِ أَن تَحْكُمُوا بِالْعَدْلِ. And when you judge between people, you judge between people with justice, fairly. إِنَّ اللَّهَ نِعِمَّ يَعِظُكُم بِهِ. Excellent is that which Allah instructs you. It's for your own good. إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا. Certainly Allah is ever hearing, ever seeing. So to remember that Allah has entrusted us with who we give our ears to and who we give authority to, and entrusts us also with behaving properly when someone is qualified. It's part of giving them their right. That's a trust. And so what does that mean? That means if I'm in a group of people and it's time for prayer and someone more qualified than me is there, I'm supposed to be happy. Like I got rid of that responsibility. I'm not the authority here because I'm not the person most qualified. I push them forward. You lead the prayer. I shouldn't be seeking it, right? On the other hand, or also when people are like running projects, you just have an emir. You have a person that is leading us. You respect leadership. Also, when there's certain areas of expertise, I'll come back to expertise because this is the crazy one, right? Respect expertise, guys. When someone is trained in something, do not allow anyone to trick you into thinking their opinion is like the opinion of an expert. And I spoke to you about that last week, and I will reiterate it here on the next slide again. Whether in deen or in medicine or anything else. This is that famous quote by Abraham Lincoln. Don't believe everything you read on the internet just because there's a picture with a quote next to it. Who can tell me what speech Abraham Lincoln said this in? Thank you, Burhanuddin. There was no internet when he was alive. Every English teacher uses me on the first day of school. Oh, okay, good. So I've officially become an English teacher. Okay, in case anyone isn't in on the joke yet, Abraham Lincoln is known as being the man who is very honest, right? They used to call him Honest Abe. And of course, he was alive at a time when there was no internet. And so the joke is that the honest person is saying a lie here. And that is the age that we live in. the age of confusion and lies. And so you need to guard your ignorance. And I said this last week and I got rushed out of it. Because we are in an age now, we are in an age that they call the age of post-truth, or the age of fake news, or the age of anti-intellectualism, or the age of democratizing knowledge, they call it, right? And what that basically means is the prevalence of knowledge. Knowledge is so available. There is the internet, that you assume that you know things before you actually get trained in them, before you've studied them enough. Okay? And I want you to learn an important concept today. That concept is called al-jahl al-basit wal-jahl al-murakkab. Simple ignorance and compound ignorance. Has anyone ever heard this before? The difference between simple ignorance and compound ignorance? So simple ignorance, al-jahl al-basit, means you're ignorant of something, but pretty straightforward, because you know you're ignorant of it. And so you're not going to assume that you know it, or assume that you're specialized and expert in it. And so it's straightforward. You're just ignorant, but you know that you're ignorant. Compound ignorance, this is something that's, by the way, this simple and compound, this is something that scholars spoke about like 1,000 years ago. The scholars of Islam wrote a lot about this, because the Quran is very big on this. Don't speak about what you have no authority in, meaning no knowledge about. And so compound ignorance is, compound means double, basically, or at least double. And so it means you're ignorant, and then you're ignorant. You're ignorant of a subject, but then you're ignorant of the fact that you're ignorant about that subject. So you don't know the subject, and you don't know that you don't know. That's the whole problem. You're ignorant of the fact that you don't know. You don't realize that you don't know. You think you know. You assume you know. So that's al-jahl al-basit and al-jahl al-murakkab. So when you first face a subject, or research a subject, or investigate a subject, what comes first? Simple ignorance or compound ignorance? Because compound is worse. But when does it come? Does it come first, or does it come second? Yeah, simple first. When does compound ignorance come? Like, when does your ignorance get doubled? When you start learning. When you're knowledgeable, then you're not ignorant. But the idea is, when you are ignorant of something, and then you start to learn it, you start thinking you've learned it when you're just getting started. And so that is the real killer. The person who's ignorant and knows they're ignorant, that's pretty not too bad, because you're going to go find someone who knows. But the person who starts reading, starts asking, and like in a day or two or a month, he assumes that they're as good as the experts, they're going to stop asking prematurely, too early. So that is the danger of the age of information, right? And so the sister asked for an example. Something weird is happening with my body. I have no idea what it is. That's simple ignorance. I'm ignorant of these symptoms. What do these symptoms mean? My bones are aching, my eye is twitching. That's simple ignorance. That's not too bad, because you know that you need help. So you'll go ask somebody to diagnose you. You'll go to an expert. The problem is when you get on Google and you say aching knee, twitching left eye, and then Google tells you you're a mutant or you have cancer or something like this, right? And so you assumed that that's it. That's it. I've figured out the problem. And it's a website, looks pretty, nice graphics, Clearly, so you're in a worse position now, because you think, yeah, you have 2 days to live. You think that there's nothing left to learn. And that is when you stop learning. You stop thinking. You stop being critical. You thought that you thought it out enough. Is everyone clear on simple ignorance and compound ignorance now? Or do you want more examples? I'm going to wait for it. Okay, good. So guard your ignorance. What do I mean by guard your ignorance? Make sure your ignorance does not hide from you. Like, don't beware of thinking you know. Because once you start learning, that's when you start thinking you know. But there is a very big difference between thinking that you know something and actually mastering it. You know, the scholars used to say, you don't know a book, not a Google search. You don't know a book until you've read it 40 times. That's when you say, okay, you got this book down packed, you know, in and out. And that is why the scholars say you don't begin understanding a subject until you've read 10 books on it. Begin understanding the subject until you've read 10 books on it. You know, I had an image. I don't know if I can share it now. If you've ever seen, you can Google the amount of books you need to read to become a doctor, just because the medical examples are always easy. You just see this huge stack of books that could be like easily 5 to 7 feet tall. That's what you need to read and get tested on, not just like speed read. Get tested on, basically, to become a doctor. The fact, and then there's just to become a doctor. Then you have to keep getting, because things keep getting updated, things keep getting disproven, things keep getting discovered. And so for you to think that you can quickly search up something and get the answer that is curated for you, by the way, this is a specially customized answer, is the dilemma of our age. And so this is what you want to do to guard your ignorance. Respect expertise. That means don't allow yourself to think you're an expert on something, unless like you're really certified about it, you're really thorough on it. And don't allow anyone else to come talk to you about something that they're not an expert on. You know, like, I'll be very honest with you. Whenever anyone sits there and talks to me about politics, I do believe that almost everyone is not an expert in politics. Almost everybody, right? And so when they speak about it, not just like sharing thoughts or asking me to think about something, whenever someone speaks about something in politics, like it's so obvious, like it's so clear, this is about to happen, or it's so clear, this happened because of this, I kind of just shut my ears and I focus on the steak and the salad in front of me. I can't hear them out, because if you think it's so simple, but you're the only one that believes that and no one else can see it, you want me to think that you're the only expert on earth? That's the biggest proof that you're not an expert. Yeah, and people are good at making it sound like they know what they're talking about. So respect expertise. Don't let yourself think you're an expert, and don't let others who are not experts make you assume that they're experts, because they're just good at, like you said, as Jahanzib said, sounding like they know what they're talking about. Very important. And then mind your business. Just stay out of things that you don't need to be giving your opinion about. Because this is not just about like being a doctor or being a scholar, right? If you're not the judge, remember that ayah? See, the ayah said what? And when you judge people with justice. Are you in a place to figure out where justice is? Or are you just like some hearsay and then you're going to give your opinion and add to the opinions out there about whether this person is right and this person is wrong? And, you know, one brother got really upset at me recently. I'll tell you guys, because there was like a problem here in the Muslim community. And he came and told me his 2 cents. So I said to him, with all due respect, you didn't learn that on your own. You heard that from somebody, and it was probably your wife. He said, you don't trust my wife? My wife's a liar? I said, I don't even trust you. I told him, I don't even trust you, because I don't trust myself when matters are chaotic. There's just emotions and incomplete stories, and there's always 2 or more sides to the story. And so I don't trust myself. That's why I'm going to mind my business unless I'm forced to investigate. And then when I'm forced to investigate, I'm going to investigate myself. I'm not going to investigate based on hearsay. And then ultimately, number 3, and this is the most valuable one, you have to always seek the light from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the world towards the end of time will get more and more confusing. People will become more and more arrogant. You will become more and more stressed out. And all of these will cause you to just want to know what's right already. And so you can once again forget how ignorant you are, forget how much work needs to be done. And so when you continue to stay close to Allah and pray to Allah and ask Allah to purify your heart, He'll give you the clarity that you need. And as we said, just to move on, this is not just because people are going to be arrogant or you're going to be arrogant at the end of time. It's also because people are going to be very dishonest. Okay? They're going to deliberately lie to themselves and to you. That's what the era of post-truth is. Like, I looked up the definition of post-truth before class today, and it's the dumbest definition in the world. And it's it's like the official definition. It's the Oxford Dictionary definition. We are in an age now that's called the post-truth age. Like, we're beyond truth. Truth does not matter anymore. And so that post-truth is an adjective relating to or denoting circumstances in which objective facts, meaning real facts, are less influential. They don't matter in shaping public opinion, meaning people have just accepted that it doesn't matter. It doesn't influence my decision, my beliefs don't influence my decision. They don't influence my beliefs. He says what does matter is appeals to emotion and personal belief. So let me just simplify that for you. The facts are not what construct my beliefs. My emotions and my beliefs are what construct my facts. They are what influence my facts. And that is just insanity, right? How I'm feeling and what I want to be true is the truth. That is like, the world cannot get more foolish. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ spoke about regarding al-Ruwaybidah. Al-Ruwaybidah, I said the rise of the Ruwaybidah. What are the Ruwaybidah? To the next hadith here. The Prophet ﷺ said, from the signs of the last hour is that knowledge will be taken away and ignorance will prevail. And adultery, meaning haram relationships, would become common. Wine would be drunk. The number of men will fall short. The number of women would survive, meaning women would continue to outlive men, until there would be one man to look after 50 women. Can we ask the administrator to remove these annotations if possible? Disable. Okay. And so, where is the Hadith al-Ruwaybidah? This is not the Hadith al-Ruwaybidah. My apologies, guys. I am... Yeah, so, okay. The Hadith al-Ruwaybidah is a different hadith. My apologies again, everyone. May Allah forgive this person who consistently tries to disturb our class. Allah guide you, whoever you are. All right. So the Prophet ﷺ said, there will come a time over the people when the truthful will be considered a liar, and the liar will be considered truthful, and the trustworthy person will be considered a traitor, and the traitors, like the one who betrays, will be considered trustworthy. Okay? He said, and the Ruwaybidah will speak up. The Ruwaybidah will speak up, this term here. So they said, sorry, that's actually me. I forgot to move my mouse back. He said the Ruwaybidah will speak up. They said, who are the Ruwaybida? Okay, so what does Ruwaybida mean? Ruwaybida means the incompetent, the failures, basically. Not the fail. Yeah, the incompetent. The ones that are not qualified, those that are not capable. Will speak up. They said, who are these incompetent people? He said, Ar-rajulu tafih, the foolish man who will speak on behalf of the masses. ينطق الرويبضة قالوا وما الرويبضة قال رجل التافه تكلموا في شؤون العامة أو أمر العامة. The foolish person who speaks on behalf of the masses, speaks on behalf of everybody. And now you understand, by the way, why it says that the pen, you remember the pen from last week? The pen will become widespread. But who is using the pen? Fools, incompetent people, unqualified people. And so when you add these two, so this is considered to have happened. Absolutely, it has happened. It happens a lot. But it has happened now in a way that that is just insane, isn't it? So this could be certainly of the recurring things. I mean, there's no reason to say it didn't happen in the past. Like when you have a king or an emperor or a philosopher or like a religious leader that's been very influential that was an absolute, fool. That's happened a lot in world history. But now it is extremely prevalent. Thank you, Sister Sadia. And so I want you just to take these prophecies and tie them together. Whoa. The prophecies are, pen will become widespread, right? There's going to be lots of writing, lots of talking. And this hadith about the Ruwaybida means what? These people that are not qualified are going to be talking about these big issues that affect everyone, as if they have any say in this, as if they just completely baseless, right? And then you put those two things together. What does all that talking, all that presumed knowledge create? Ignorance. So in an age when literacy, the ability to write, is going to make people think they have the right to write, the ability to speak, to have megaphones, to have platforms, to have voices, to have listeners, right? Is going to allow people to do that. And in an age, we said, the trustworthy will be considered a liar. The liar will become trustworthy. When dishonest people are listened to, they're given an ear. You add all that up, prevalence in literacy, with unqualified people speaking, meaning arrogantly, out of place, plus people have no moral conscience. There's just so much dishonesty. People are embracing dishonesty anyway. All of that is going to create what? Chaos, ignorance. That's where we come to this hadith. And we're almost done now. Anas said that the Prophet ﷺ said it's from the signs of the hour that knowledge would be taken away. It seems, and Allah knows best, that this time knowledge will be taken away by being drowned out by misinformation, drowned out by arrogant people that shouldn't be speaking. So they're basically smothering the voices of reason. They're smothering the facts with so many like alternative facts, fake news, all this stuff, right? And so it's so hard for you to find the truth, or hard for you to find correctness. From the signs of the last hour is that knowledge would be taken away, ignorance will prevail, adultery would become common, wine would be drunk. I'll come back to that one in a second. Wine would be drunk. The number of men will fall short. The number of women would outlive them, until there would be one man to look after 50 women. Why do you think, this might be a bonus question on your exam, why do you think there will be one man to look after 50 women? What does that mean? Anyone want to take a guess? Everyone's talking about population disparity. Kill each other off. Yes, very good. So you guys basically touched it. In the interest of time, I'll go ahead and say it. The scholars mentioned two opinions of why this would happen. Number one opinion is that a man will look after 50 women means men will die off so much that he will be responsible for his wife or wives and his daughters and his sister and his mother and his aunt and his granddaughter, Like every 50 women will have like a man they need to hover around for support. Okay? Why? Because there's going to be so much warfare. And the reason the scholar said that is because a hadith, as you saw, spoke about bloodshed and warfare and chaos happening at the end of time. Okay? So that's one interpretation. The other interpretation said a man will maintain 50 women, look after 50 women, means he will be married to 50 women. Well, it's not really a real marriage, obviously, right? But where did they get that from? That possibility from? The scholars who chose this interpretation said because the hadith begins by saying this: from the signs of the last hour, that knowledge would be taken away and ignorance would prevail. And so people will become so ignorant, even in the Muslim community, that he will assume it is fine, he will assume it is okay. But yes, I mean, I'm saying he will think it's okay to marry more than 4 women because of how ignorant the people will be. Does that make sense? Where they got that explanation from? And they have many reasons to say this. Of the reasons that they said, the hadith mentions that at the end of time, the day of judgment will not happen until people say La ilaha illallah and not know what it means. So if Muslims are not even going to know the meaning of La ilaha illallah, which is the simplest, most basic concept in Islam, then for sure, the rules on marriage, they'll be more ignorant of. Yes? And there are other proofs as well. I'm just tying it into ignorance, not saying that is the interpretation, but to show you how this is a very likely interpretation, because there's so many hadith that speak about people that will be so confused about Islam. And here's our last slide, because we only have 6 minutes left. He said what, alayhi salatu wasalam? I just want to focus on this last part, that this is the only part we haven't really addressed. I mean, this one, haram relationships, we see all around us. The haram continues to increase in the streets, in the roadways, in your face, on every advertisement. It's pushing for this. And then wine being drunk. I want to show you something. Can Muslims be immune to this insanity? Well, let's look at the insanity first. Wine consumption in the US is charted in this graph. Okay? Wine consumption between the year 2000 and the year 2014. Wine consumption between the year 2000 and 2014, there is a steady increase per person in the US with every single year. Like, it doesn't even matter. The jobs are going up or going down, the economy, people are getting richer, people are getting poor. People continue to drink wine more and more and more and more and more. Okay? Just so you understand what that means, 90,000 people die every single year in the United States, just the United States. 10 million people in the whole globe. 90,000 people in the United States die from alcohol-related deaths. And so what does that mean? That means all the opioid drug deaths, 60,000, and gun-related deaths, like shootings, about 33,000 combined. These numbers are real numbers. These are the numbers you'll find in the Center for Disease Control, right? And so we should be so grateful to Allah Azza wa Jalla that there is such severe, strict rules in our deen to protect us from going down that slippery slope. Because that slippery slope does not stop for the individual, and it doesn't stop for society. Society just continues to go farther and farther and farther and farther. And of course, you know, alcohol is like the mother of all evils. Not just alcohol, intoxication is the mother of all evils. I want to show you a beautiful graph to show you just how blessed we are in Islam. Well, that needs to be. This is also from the World Health Organization. I'll try to explain this to you in a second. This is a graph of the world. The lighter colors are less alcohol consumption. The countries that the average alcohol drank by a person is less. And the darker colors or where more alcohol is drank. As you can see here, wait for it. Let me see if I know what I'm doing. Wait, cancel this. Cancel. All right, let me annotate. Who can tell me what this is? What did I just circle? I mean, roughly. I mean, you guys don't judge me, okay? That is the Muslim majority world. Of course, there's Muslims all over the world. The Muslim majority world is there. North Africa, right? South and West Asia, right? The tip of Europe. That is the Muslim majority world. That has the least alcohol consumption even until today. Meaning even now, when the Muslims have a lot of work to do. We need to be honest, right? Have a lot of work to do to come back to the values of Islam. Look at how much Islam has protected them from the disaster that is alcohol. But what do I want to say here? I want to say that the ignorance that we keep talking about all day today will chip away at this. And so the Muslim is not in a Muslim majority world. Most of you are here in the United States. You need to make sure you're in a Muslim majority community, so you don't get stuck in these dangerous traps that only drag you further and further and further and further away. Okay? Allah forbid intoxicants, drugs, and alcohol for a reason, because they compromise your deen, they compromise your mind, they compromise your money, they compromise your reputation, they compromise your family, they destroy everything. And so I'll leave you with a warning of the Prophet ﷺ. He said, once my nation considers 5 things halal, destruction will befall them. Meaning they're going to suffer so much. This is when my nation does this. That will happen towards the future, meaning towards the end of time. He said, when cursing one another appears, and when wine is drunk, and when silk is worn, meaning by men, obviously, because we know silk is fine for women, and when musical instruments are played, and when men are fine with men and women are fine with women. Men and women, aren't the norm anymore. A man-woman relationship. He said, when these things happen, destruction will befall my ummah. And so I say that so that when I say, can Muslims be immune to this insanity, the wine being drank and all this stuff? We say yes, if you're part of the Muslim majority world, which you're not. So you say you put yourself very close to the Muslim community and protect yourself, and don't think you can just take part in the rest of the world without being affected by its ills and all the dangers of society. Then yes, you can. By Allah's permission, you can. But the Prophet ﷺ also told us that many people will think it's fine and they won't. The Muslim commitment to their faith and their knowledge about their faith will fall apart. They're going to say, oh, that's not wine. Wine was only wine made out of this. But now we have different kinds of wine. Or drugs are not wine, right? They will continue to figure out ways to break away as if that's freeing them up when it's really sending them to their destruction. May Allah protect us and you from every path that could be a slippery slope to our destruction. Allahumma ameen. Are there any questions before we close? Someone ask some questions. Why do people curse anyway? Because they have misplaced their good manners and they've struggled to control their anger. And it could be because they are a little bit too arrogant, they're not humble enough. There's a lot of reasons. But wine is already being drunk. Does it mean a certain amount being consumed? Yes, Sister Yasmin, do you mean by Muslims or you mean by non-Muslims? Can you explain the instruments code? Okay, I will. Destruction? I mean, destruction comes in many forms, but you see the destruction of the Muslim world right now, don't you? You see that almost every single Muslim country is powerless, abused by the world powers that want to just take advantage of it, manipulate it, steal its resources, dictate its governance, all of that. Yes, yeah, the recording will be there. Non-Muslims, yeah, it's already drunk. Well, yeah, what it means by drunk meaning everybody, like it will become more and more and more prevalent. That's what's meant to stress me. Someone told me they curse to express their emotions. Yeah, it's fine. People are allowed to express their emotions. But who said you're allowed to express something that's natural inside you however you want? What if my expression of emotions is to punch someone in the nose? Should I do that? No. Why? It's a natural emotion. You say, okay, but sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Who said words don't hurt? Don't people hurt themselves because of the words that are said to them in school by bullies? Right? And so the idea of whatever is natural, just express it. Well, using the bathroom is pretty natural. You eat, you use the bathroom. So why do not express it however you want? You say, no, we got to express it inside the bathroom on top of the toilet. Why? It's natural. The expression of what's natural in a refined way is what differentiates between us and the animals, right? Allah's not telling you be an angel, doesn't have like any emotions at all or anything like that. But he's also not accepting that you be an animal and express it without the dignity that he created the human being with. I hope that helps, Khadija. I still didn't receive an email this week. Okay. I'll figure out what's going on and why the brother... this is a private message from Arib. Batul, Salom, said, what do we do when someone asks about Islam or challenges it? Should we answer? Yeah, you answer with knowledge. Don't ever be afraid to say you don't know. And you answer respectfully, because you cannot possibly call someone to something with your words and chase them away from it with your actions, right? Your rudeness or otherwise. That's not da'wah. Da'wah is invitation. So you have to be inviting in your approach. If someone is not open to the invitation, they're not listening at all, then there's no harm in shutting them down, because like life is short and I don't have time for you. There's other people who do want to listen and are receptive. But when someone asks something about Islam, they're the ones coming. That means you'd think that they're being receptive. And so we should answer when we have the answer. Musical instruments, the one... as for musical instruments, the majority of the scholars of the four major schools of Islamic law believe, because the hadith is pretty clear, that musical instruments are haram. Except for like the drum or the tambourine, the duf, on Eid, and some say all the time, but just that instrument. But even the scholars, all the scholars, not the majority, all of them will agree that if something haram accompanies the music, then the whole package becomes haram. So if you have music with cursing, music with women not dressed properly, meaning not in hijab, by the way. I don't mean in like, not as bad as the next girl. No, not in hijab. If the guy is there naked without a shirt and all this stuff, right? That's not allowed. If they're talking about things that are vulgar, like inappropriate words, if they're, praising things that shouldn't be praised, like chasing after money and chasing after relationships and bragging, and those are also, she's inviting you to arrogance. All of those things, if they accompany musical instruments, then the musical instruments become a secondary issue. It becomes haram for those things to begin with. Even if there was no instruments, if it was just vocals, with that stuff would have been haram by itself. Am I speaking out of ignorance if I answer and I'm not a non-expert? Well, you are an expert on certain stuff, because the expertise level is very low. Like if someone tells you, like, what are the 5 pillars of Islam, or how do I become Muslim? These are things that we should all be experts on, right? It's a very baseline expertise. But if it's something more intricate, something complex, you tell them, I'll get back to you. I'm not a specialist of Islamic law, People have asked on my men can't see women without their hijab, and I don't know the answer. Maybe why men can't see women without their hijab? No, they can. They just have to marry that woman, or be her father, or her brother, or her son, or her uncle, or her grandfather, or her grandchild. Who else? Or their nephew, or her nephew. That sort of thing. Otherwise, Allah said in the Quran why. He said, Prophet, tell your wives and your daughters and the believing women to drape their clothes on them, meaning to have concealing clothing. This is so that they will be known as free, dignified women, and they will not be harassed. And whoever thinks that clothing doesn't attract attention is out of their mind. And so they're not supposed to be wearing attractive clothing, and they're not supposed to lessen or tighten their clothing in a way that naturally would attract. And so the reason is because God said so, and God told them that He said so that they don't attract unwanted attention. They don't attract unwanted, inappropriate attention. Hope that helps. But Batul said, never mind. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't see the first question. So I think I'm going to have to never mind. If I play musical instruments in school, send me an email. I'll send you a letter. I've sent many parents letters when they requested it to get an exemption. The Muslim community needs a lot of artists, so you can become a painter or an artist, and we can sell your paintings for millions of dollars, inshallah, and we can split it, half for the masjid, half for you. Okay? You can buy yourself a mansion for your parents and you, and the masjid can get a new pool and what else? And a helicopter, in case I'm ever late for khutbah, inshallah. So the sign is not, this is the last question, guys, so please don't write anymore because I don't have the ability to take it. So the sign is not the making of instruments, but the making and use of instruments accompanied by haram being prevalent, right? No, hold on. Here it is, just to clarify. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Where are you? Oh, this wasn't in your notes. I'm so sorry. This was in my notes. So once my nation can, let me just cite it for you right here. It's considering musical instruments themselves permissible is the sign. And that's something we see, that so many people argue that musical instruments are not haram. Actually, this hadith says that it's going to be common. Musical instruments are going to be commonly played. There's another hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari that says, يَسْتَحِلُّونَ, they will consider halal 4 things of them as musical instruments. When there's an ad, get past the ad. I mean, if you can't avoid something, you're not responsible for it. You can avoid it. You can turn it off. You can look away. You can not watch these things that have certain types of ads because the technologists do tie certain ads with certain content, and you have to be your gatekeeper on your own heart to make sure the poisons don't get in. That's your lifelong job. Ad blockers, if they're free, do your best. Ask your parents for help. Gotta let you go, everyone. Next week, inshallah, we'll continue. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum.